Action begets action. That means that failure leads to further failure. You see, the way the nervous system is set is that we're always practicing something, we're always getting better at it. When it comes to most people's fitness journey, what you see over time is one failure, then another failure, then another failure, and all that person is really doing is getting better and better at failing to become fitter and healthier. Now, in the modern world, the biggest problem we've got is that this million-year-old hunter-gatherer that we're walking around as isn't really set up for life in the modern world. You see, we're set up for scarcity, we're set up for no abundance of food, we're set up for constant movement, we're set up for a lifetime of having to run away from bigger, stronger, faster predators. And yet in the modern world, we have none of that. The human body, because of the high stress way we were designed, is actually set to be incredibly lazy the rest of the time to conserve energy. That conservation of energy is because food was really scarce up until not very long ago. If you consider back in the early 1900s, we had the Great Depression, people were getting by on one piece of bread a day that they'd wipe their pan with that would maybe have some bacon grease on it, and that was what they were surviving on. Fast forward to now, and you can go to the local supermarket, maybe only a minute or two away, and buy the world's supply of any food you want, usually in a highly processed, highly calorie-dense form, and you can buy as much of it as you want for most people. Because of how scarce food was, we are designed to eat in a feast or famine setup. We're covered in body fat to let us get through these famine periods where maybe hunting was difficult, we couldn't find anything, like we couldn't find any protein to eat, half caught an animal and it ran away, that we weren't able to get food. We're designed to be able to deal with not eating for a period of time. But it means when we do find food, we're designed to eat all of it. Our stomach is expandable so that when food is available, we can get in as much as possible so that we can get through that next famine period. When you're faced with a food abundance now, your hardwired million-year-old hunter-gatherer brain says that you need to eat as much as possible because history has told us that food is scarce. The problem comes in our fitness journey. I've been overeating, I tell myself I need to eat less, but I'm wired to overeat, so I eat more because that's my instinct. Now I feel bad about myself for overeating. I lose confidence in being successful, but I've gotten better at failing to meet my fitness target. Over time, all that happens is I lose my self-belief and I lose the ability to be successful. And every single time I try and fail, I'm only getting better at trying and failing. And now I'm adding this other element to it where my self-confidence, my self-belief, and my self-esteem are all decreasing because I no longer believe I'm capable of doing this on my own. So how do we fix all this? We fix this by thinking about what our ideal version of ourselves is going to be. Now, if that version is someone who's lean, strong, and fit, then I need to start modeling the behaviors of someone who is lean, strong, and fit. So when faced with one of these decisions, start thinking about this ideal version of yourself and what they would do. So for example, maybe the ideal version of myself drinks a little less. So I set my target to drink a little less. The next part of that though, because that's just a dream at this point, is I have to set a goal and I have to have an action to make me successful at that. Now, most people will tell you you have to set your goal so it's big and scary so that you're forced to achieve to a high level. I'm going to tell you that's back to front. You need to make the goal so easy you can't fail at it. So if we use our mythical person who's maybe drinking too much, maybe the goal for this week is they just don't buy any alcohol when they go to the supermarket. How are you going to be able to drink too much at night if you've got no alcohol at home? We just started with one simple action of not buying alcohol when you went to the supermarket. The next step is we have to tie this to something that sets up a new reward structure for ourselves. If you think the way most of us celebrate things, we tend to center it around food and alcohol. When was the last time you celebrated a birthday, a job promotion, something good going on for you that didn't involve food and alcohol? Similarly, when was the last time you had to commiserate with someone that also didn't center around food and alcohol? And you can see we have this weird both reward and commiseration structure where every single thing we do revolves around food and alcohol. The way to make sure you start setting up a new dopamine structure for yourself that doesn't revolve around food and alcohol is that you set your target, you make it so easy you can be successful, and then when you are successful, you give yourself $1. Seriously, put it in a jar, $1. every single time. When I reward myself enough times, I'll obviously have a booty of money to take my pirate loot and go do something fun with. Don't make it about food and alcohol. Maybe it's going and getting a massage. Maybe it's going and buying a new piece of jewelry. Maybe it's buying some clothes. Maybe it's just a reward that you and your partner go and do something together that doesn't focus around food and alcohol. When you think of the way most people reward themselves, you see this is the exact opposite. Most people will do half of something and then reward themselves with food and alcohol and wonder why they haven't been successful. They've actually only rewarded themselves for failing to meet their target in the first place. If you consider most people's diet strategies, they might eat well for Monday to Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they kind of blow their diet. But in their head, it was only a few days, they ate well for the rest of the week, I deserved a treat. They rewarded themselves for breaking their diet. Meanwhile, what we're doing is we're doing one thing that steps us slightly closer towards being fully successful later on, and we're making sure to reward that. We're only rewarding the successful steps, not the unsuccessful ones. And this is really important because, again, your brain is always learning and it's getting better at the things you practice doing. When you reward yourself for the successful steps, you are setting yourself up to only be successful later on. You have to be sure that you don't reward yourself for failure to meet your targets. Don't blow your meal targets for the week. Don't go and buy the alcohol. Don't eat the tub of ice cream. Don't eat 3 pizzas and then reward yourself with a treat meal afterwards. You can only reward yourself for doing something successfully. So the 3 steps: pick a target that you want to address, such as buying alcohol, make it so easy you can't fail, and then reward yourself for hitting that target and only for hitting that target. And you must reward yourself in a way that has nothing to do with food or alcohol. When you start doing this reliably, those $1 will stack up and you'll actually be able to go off and do something that really creates a big dopamine rush for you, external to food and alcohol, and you're only making yourself tied to being successful. That's the best way you can stop failing at meeting your fitness goals.